Hiya, and welcome back to Echo. The game that's like Doki Doki Literature Club, but it doesn't break the fourth wall, and it's made for furries. So, a couple things to say before we get started. I am not going to play benefits on here, or probably a lot of the sequels, actually, or even Adastra or Interior Archemia, solely because of the sexual content that happens on there. So, sorry about that. Also, another video on TikTok got taken down. Yeah, I know. But anyways, let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into it. We finished Karlsruhe, right? Like, we saw the good ending. I think we did. Let me double check YouTube real quick, because I have last night's stream on there. Yeah, we did. Okay, well, we'll just go right here and jump right into Flynn's route. I stand there, next to my chair, undecided. Go after Flynn. I look back at Flynn as he winds his way down the trail towards the road. I sigh angrily, starting towards him. Chase, I wouldn't. Someone's gotta talk sense into that idiot. He thinks he can just get away with this shit. You know how he is. I keep walking. He's moving pretty slow, so it's easy to catch up with him. He's got his hands jammed into his pockets as he walks along, his head down. Hey, Flynn. He jerks his head up, then looks back around at me. He's chewing on a toothpick, which he promptly pulls out of his muzzle. The hell? What the fuck you think you're doing, Chase? Go back. Yeah, right. You think you can just walk away from me after saying shit like that? He stops walking and turns around fully to face me. I step up right in front of him, just a few feet away. He looks me over and, for some reason, I can see his smile threatening to crack his face as he tries to keep it hidden. Yeah? And what are you going to do about it? I shrug. Talk! We were having a good time. Why do you have to go and turn everything good? He suddenly steps up close, thrusting his chest out into me. It hits me around the neck and I stumble back. Not in the mood. He sticks the toothpick back in his muzzle before he turns and starts walking away again. Go back to the river so you can all talk about what an asshole I am. What? I watch him go for a bit. I'm not too worried about Flynn actually beating me up. I'd annoyed him pretty bad before, but he hadn't ever actually hurt me. At least not maliciously. On top of that, he'd have Leo to answer to if he ever did anything like that, and he knows how that would end up. Still, he did look pretty angry when he stepped towards TJ, more than I'd ever seen him, probably. Now might not be the best time to do this. Do we want to keep going or turn back? Well, silence, I'll just take it as keep going. Screw him. Once again, he thinks the act of an asshole can just brush off whoever he doesn't want to talk to. Well, I'm about to show him exactly why that doesn't work when it's a stubborn otter he's up against. I start following again, doing a little jog to catch up. This time, Flynn hears me and whirls around, pulling the toothpick out of his mouth again. Your ears filled with water? I said fuck off. I flinch a little under his yelling, but I square my shoulders and walk up to him, standing my ground. Now I'm only 3 feet away. Or what? You gonna hit me? Really? Go on, try it. I look him in the eye and immediately know I have nothing to worry about. This is Flynn, after all, one of my best friends. Whether or not he'd ever admit to it, our little group is family, no matter how many stupid fights we get into. He's trying to scare me, though, with the way he's leaning over me, glaring. I just smirk up at him, and pretty soon I see his facade crack. He slumps down, letting out one massive sigh, deflating like a life-size lizard balloon. Fucking otters. What do you want? I want you to stop being a dick. Flynn looks right back at me and glares, some of the posturing coming back. What? Oh Christ, you heard me. That is not a good thing to say to me right now. Flynn starts leaning over me again, and I lean right back, almost bumping muzzles. Yeah? Well, everything you said back there was not a good thing to say. I see the corner of one of his eyes twitch. We're so close I can smell the beer on his breath, and I see that smirk tug at his muzzle again. Coming in for a kiss? He presses even closer, and I feel my muzzle flush, but I'm not backing down. I see how it is. You're bored with Leo, and now you want some lizard action, eh? No, I just want an explanation. He raises a brow and leans back a little. Of why you're being such a dick when we're all supposed to be having fun. Actually, I think I know exactly what this is. You're trying to prove me wrong. Well, being an obnoxious twit doesn't suddenly mean you've got a personality. Anyway, they told me to speak my mind, and I did. He turns away again and starts walking. I quickly catch up and start walking alongside him. That's not an answer. Besides, even if something's true, it doesn't mean you have to point it out in the middle of everyone's vacation. Flynn keeps walking, opting to glare at the dusty trail. Do you really think I'm just looking to bone all of you? I'm not. Flynn laughs, and for once, it's not cynical. It's genuine. I think what you're doing right now isn't helping your case, Chase. What? I'm just trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with you, Flynn. My phone buzzes, and I pull it out. Are you okay? It's a text from Leo. Everything is fine, and I'm just trying to talk to Flynn. Flynn snorts right in my ear, making me jump. I jerk my phone away as I realize he's been reading over my shoulder. What? Wolfie boy thinks I'm gonna clock you for being annoying? You almost hit TJ! Almost. At this point, we're walking along Lake Emma Road, the trail winding between it and the reservoir itself. There's a little guardrail on the lakeside, but it's rusty, and I seriously doubt that it would stop any car from going over into the lake. Another 10 minutes and we'll reach the motel. My phone buzzes again as I get a response from Leo. If he does anything, call me. Flynn sighs again. He stops and I turn to face him. He looks sad for once, staring hard at the ground. I just sort of blacked out for a second. I was angry. That's what murderers say after they kill their exes. Jesus, Chase. Well, okay. I fucked up. Yeah, no shit. It's just something that's been fucking with me ever since it happened. That he's not telling the truth. Flynn looks up at me sharply. You know he isn't. Flynn's staring at me hard, as if he's looking for something, and this time I do look away. Well, what if he is? No, you saw him right after it happened. How scared he was, how he couldn't look at any of us. I have no idea what to say. Flynn never talks about this. before today, the last time I'd heard him mention Sydney was like 6 years ago. It really fucked me up. And that we thought we could just come back to this stupid fucking lake. He kicks his foot across the ground towards the reservoir, some pebbles falling over the steep drop and plopping into the water. It fucked us all up, but Flynn most of all. Look, Flynn, maybe something did happen. Maybe he doesn't want to tell us. But it's TJ. You know what kind of person he is. And that's what makes us so fucking shitty. But we were kids. He was like 10 years old. We're different people now. Looking behind Flynn, I see Leo's van coming up the road. Flynn waits for me to go on, but sees me looking back and does so himself. As soon as he sees the van, he folds his arms and turns his head to look out across the lake. As it pulls up alongside us, the window rolls down, and I see Jenna in the passenger seat, Leo next to her. Hey, we're heading back. Want to get in? Flynn doesn't say anything, instead choosing to continue staring at the lake. I decide that it's probably a good idea for me to walk with him instead of making him do it alone. Nah, that's alright. We're just talking. Leo shifts his gaze to Flynn, studying him before turning back to me. Alright. Text me later, okay? Okay. The window rolls back up as the van pulls away, kicking up some dust from the roadside as it does. I turn back to Flynn, who's still looking at the lake, chewing slowly on his toothpick. That's when his stomach growls so loudly it almost makes me jump. I snort and Flynn fixes me with a glare. God. What? I didn't get to eat. Neither did I. Which is your fault. Flynn grunts and keeps walking up the trail toward Echo, the town's windows and rusted signs glinting in the desert haze. I skip up alongside him. Hey, why don't we go to the diner? It's just a few minutes away. Flynn grimaces. I can't eat that shit anymore. What? When's the last time you ate there? A few years ago. Wow, what do you eat then? Flynn laughs. I go to Peyton where they actually have grocery stores. Oh, okay. A few moments of silence pass before Flynn speaks up again. I guess it wouldn't hurt to eat there again, for old time's sake. As we walk into the diner, my senses are assaulted by nostalgia. Everything looks and smells the same, from the faded patched stools to the smell of burgers and fries. Out of habit, I start walking towards the corner booth, the one we always used to sit at. Where are you going? Huh? I look back at Flynn, who's standing near the counter, ready to sit on one of the stools. Oh, come on, fill in. Come on, Flynn. There's one comfortable. Besides, it'll be easier to talk. Some of the patrons are starting to look up from their meals. Flynn looks around, clearly embarrassed, and shoves his hands into his pockets, making his way over to me. Fine. I slide into the booth, into my usual spot on the right-hand side. Usually Leo would sit next to me. Flynn sits opposite me, leaning back, eyes half open. Tired? Yup. I wait for him to elaborate, but he doesn't go on. Up late? Flynn reaches up and rubs his eyes. Yeah. The long breath he takes in before he says that tells me he's starting to get annoyed, so I drop it. Luckily, that's when Janice, the old diner waitress, comes over to our table. Chase, my goodness! What are you doing here? Hi, Janice. Just doing a school project. Oh, really? I wonder what sort of schooling might be here for you. I'm actually just getting some film of the town. Flynn does move his hands at this point and looks at me. His expression is odd, like he wants to say something. I look back and raise my brows, but he just shuts his muzzle and looks out the window. Alright, I'll be right back with you. As Janice moves on to some other patrons, I look back at Flynn. Were you going to say something? Flynn shakes his head, folding his arms on the table and hunching forward. No. Somehow his mood is even darker than it was earlier. I sigh, frustrated. It's so damn hard to understand Flynn. His mood swings are absolutely ridiculous. I lean back and fold my arms, scowling. What? You know exactly what. I'm trying to be friendly here. Flynn shrugs, a bewildered expression on his face. I don't know what to say, Chase. It's been a shitty day. I don't say anything and just look out the window like Flynn. Again, there's a tense silence between us. I just listen to the clatter of silverware from the other two people in the diner, along with the old rockabilly music playing over the crackly speakers. Finally, Flynn sighs. I decide that's his signature expression, like Carl's. We didn't get this much customizability with, like, the other routes, like Carl and Leo. Onion rings, please. Flynn is staring at me in a weird, squinting sort of way, as if he's trying to see something. Great, I'll have it right over. Sit tight. As Janice bustles away, I look to the side, then back at Flynn. What? Flynn keeps squinting, his face incredulous now. Do you really not? He doesn't finish, and instead shakes his head. Never mind. Next will be Who Wants to Be It. Seriously? You're kind of freaking me out. Flynn chuckles and covers his eyes again, rubbing. Same. What the hell is he talking about? I'm opening my mouth to ask again, but he cuts me off. Listen, I've got the day off tomorrow. Do you want to do something? I stare at him, at a loss for words. First he's acting like a complete douche, then he tells me I'm scaring him, and now he's inviting me to hang out with him? Is he, what do you call it, bipolar? I guess? Okay, I'm curious now, so I'm going to Google it. Shows up with our food. Flynn stares down at his giant, greasy sandwich while I take a giant bite of mine. Fuck, I'm gonna regret this. Why? Tastes great. Well, you're lucky. This kind of food fucks up my stomach. Do you make your own food? Yep. I snort and Flynn looks up sharply. Sorry, it's just hard to imagine. Hey, I'm a real good cook. I guess the expression on my face is showing I don't buy it because he smirks back at me. Fine. Sometime this week, you're coming over. I'll show you then. I shrug, even though I feel like I've won some kind of secret battle we were having. Okay, I'm sort of imagining that scene from Turning Red, the new Disney movie, or something with like that scene where the dad is cooking, and I'm sort of imagining like Flynn as that dad character cooking. Deal. Flynn pulls me over rocks and boulders. I stumble along, trying to keep my balance. Flynn's insistent, though, almost angry. We reach the edge of the lake and he throws me down. I stare at the wet sand, then back up at Flynn. He points and tells me to dig. I start digging. I don't know what I'm looking for, and I ask, but Flynn doesn't say anything. Water keeps filling the hole. It's hard to keep sand from sliding back in. Finally, I reach in deep and someone grabs my paw. I stay like that for a long time. Tuesday. How's this look? Carl dangles the lure in front of himself, bouncing it around. Flynn squints at it incredulously. I'm pretty sure his muzzle would be hanging open if he didn't have a toothpick in his mouth. Jesus fucking Christ, Carl. What is that? What? Carl has tied the spinner in a giant ugly knot, the string sticking out in every which way. This is why I told you to fucking wait. I guess Carl had gotten impatient and decided to tie his own lure, while Flynn helped me with mine. Flynn takes out a knife from his pocket and takes the spinner from Carl, scowling. I'd throw this away if I didn't have so fucking few of them. What's wrong with you, Carl? Carl shoves his paws into his pockets as he watches Flynn struggle with getting the knot fixed. I don't see what the big deal is. It's attached, isn't it? He looks at me and grins, shrugging his shoulders. I shrug back. You made it so fucking big it's not gonna spin right. Flynn's muttering angrily under his breath, squeezing his forearms to his chest as he tries to keep his fingers steady. Carl rolls his eyes and looks over at me and grins. Why we gotta fish with these when we got an otter with us? I'm willing. That's not the point, Flynn almost growls, prodding and poking at the messy knot. It's about relaxing and how's Chase gonna relax swimming around the whole time? He finally seems to get a handle on the mess and starts tugging out line. And how am I gonna relax with you fucking everything up? The line finally drops away from the spinner. That's what I get for bringing a pothead along. Hey, I'm straight right now. Flynn snickers. You sure about that? Carl rolls his eyes again. Ask Chase. I sit on a rock as I slowly reel in my line, watching my spinner glisten under the water. Why are you asking me? You have, what's it called, gaydar? Isn't the idea that everyone has it? Doesn't respond as Flynn starts showing him how to actually tie the line. I come up empty and cast the line out again, listening to the clicking roar of the reel before the spinner lands with a plop in the middle of the pond. I was wondering where Flynn would go to fish since we wouldn't go to Emma, obviously. Turns out he and Leo found this pond 20 minutes outside of town, deep into the wilderness. Unsurprisingly, no one comes here, which is why Flynn says the fishing is good. There definitely is something calming about being in the middle of nowhere, especially with the repetitive motions of fishing that keep you occupied. Finally, Flynn finishes showing Carl how to cast and the ram launches his spinner out, almost all the way to the other side of the pond. Careful, idiot. You get it snagged at the other end, I'll whoop your ass. Oh, lay off, Flynn. Flynn reels in fast, then casts out again, making a pew sound as he does. Flynn sighs before walking up next to me, watching as I reel in, much slower. I feel a little self-conscious with the way he stands over me, worried I'm doing something wrong. Sure enough, he steps forward, his chest up against my back as he grips the pole. Grab it above the reel post. Here. He holds the rod, then grabs my paw and slides it up the pole. That way you can really grip it when you catch something. He's right about against my back. Oh, He's right up against my back, arms wrapped around me. I swallow and try to focus on the pole. Alright. I hear him give a low chuckle in his throat, and I glare. Of course. Has not been this cute in so long. Treasure this time while it lasts. Right? Of course, he knows what he's doing right now with my paws in the pole. He's probably rubbing in what he said yesterday. I decide to respond by sliding my tail up the inside of his leg, and I feel him shift against me. His chuckle turning into a grunt of surprise. What the hell are you guys doing? Flynn lets go of the pole and steps back as Carl watches us, his face screwed up in exaggerated disgust. He's shown him how to fish. Now it's your turn, fatty. Carl pauses on his reeling. It's not like we haven't done this before. Plus, I don't know if I want to feel your cloaca on my ass. Too bad. I focus back on fishing, feeling a little warm from the close encounter I just had with Flynn. I'm a little angry that he tried that, especially so soon after what had happened. Try to focus back on how relaxing emotions are, sweeping the lake clockwise as I cast out again and again. If I really did want to catch a fish though, I would be swimming in the water right now. It isn't hard to do. I've done several times when I was younger in the reservoir. Of course, that's less relaxing since you have to actively search for fish, rather than just sit placidly until one bites your lure. I've never killed one before though. Careful, Carl! I wince and look to the side, seeing Flynn covering his head and ducking as Carl's lure bounces and swings around above him. You didn't let go of the fucking... This is fucking hilarious. Carl shrugs and starts to swing his pole around, trying to unlap the line from his... Well, if you weren't right up against my tail, you wouldn't have to worry about that. I'm trying to show ya. Kapew. Carl launches his lure over the pond so far that it almost lands on the opposite bank. It does, however, wrap tightly around a branch sticking up from a fallen log in the shade. Fucking believable. Oh shit, he starts tugging and pulling, trying to get it untangled from the log. No, stop, you're gonna have to walk around the edge and get it. What? There's fucking cacti on the edges. No way in hell. Too bad. That's one of my last fucking lures. What? Come on! Carl's shoulders slump as he looks out across the pond. I sigh and set down my pole and start stripping my shirt off, followed by pants. After a pause, I decide to take off my boxers too. It's not like Jenna's here. It takes them a while to stop arguing. Now about the plural form of cactus. And realize that I'm now nude. Chase? I'll get the damn lure. Just stop arguing. Just wanted an excuse to give a little striptease, huh? Shut up. We've all seen each other naked. I do try and angle my hips away so they can't see my balls and cock. Which is hard to do considering I've got a pretty steep bank to wobble over. I manage it though, and pretty soon I'm sludging through thick mud. Careful, I don't know what the fuck's in there. Didn't you say no one comes here? I don't get his response because I dive in right after that, the familiar feeling of water closing up around me, cutting off air and sound. Again, it's a huge relief to be back in the water and I drift towards the bottom. It's not deep at all, and the water here has a slimy feel that I don't like. Still, it's better than nothing, and I undulate slowly across the pond. It doesn't take long to reach the log as it's only about 30 feet away. I have to bob a few times to the surface to look around though, since the water's too murky to see through. I'm actually kind of starting to regret doing this. I try to remember if I have any cuts or sores I'm going to have to douse in peroxide later. That's when one of my paws bumped the log and I bob back up to the surface, wiping a paw across my eyes. I see the line glinting above me, some drops of pond water clinging to it. I reach up and grasp it between my index and thumb, and follow it to the branch. I feel Carl give a few tugs. Hey, Chase! Flynn says there's leeches in the pond. I hear a loud smack followed by a yelp. Don't fucking yank it around. You wanna snag his eyeball? I ignore them as I search for the lure. I continue to follow the line until I lean over the log and spot the spinner. Shimmering in the sunlight, the hook wedged into soft, wet wood. It comes out easily, and I carefully lift it, making sure I'm out of the way of the hook in case Carl decides to yank the line again. When I turn around, I'm glad to see that Flynn's got the pole now. I hold up the lure to show him and let it drop back into the water. Flynn's slowly starting to reel it back in. I go back in, slowly swimming back to the opposite bank. It's at that point that I see a silver flash to the right of my field of vision. I look over and see a fish, swimming lazily over some plant life on the bottom of the pond. I pause and would have smiled if my mouth wasn't going to fill with pond water. It would be funny, after all this time with their lures and their poles, for me to just pop out of the water, fish and paw. I swim over to it slowly, lingering to the side so I won't block the sunlight before diving down and snatching it up. I latch on my claws to keep it from escaping as I give a little wiggle of delight. It's been a long time since I've done this, but it looks like I've still got it. I turn and start swimming back to Flynn and Carl, and that's when I suddenly feel like I'm being watched. It's not the typical feeling, though. This is much, much more intense. I pause and look back over my shoulder, then forward again. It's pointless because everything's cloudy. I can't see more than 10 feet. I've sunk down to the bottom of the pond, both of my feet resting in deep muck as I crouch, trying to figure out where the feeling is coming from. It doesn't help that my head is starting to buzz, a tone building in my head that sounds like an orchestra tuning. I haven't been down that long. I shouldn't be running out of air. Of course, I should just swim up to the surface where it's bright and safe, but I don't, because this feels too familiar. I think back to when I was 12, playing in the abandoned school with Carl. I was hiding from him in a second-floor classroom when I felt this exact feeling. Intense, almost physical, like a hand was grabbing into the back of my neck. I look around again, then finally look down at the fish in my paws, and now I know where it's coming from. Before I know it, I'm whipping upwards, breaking through the surface in less than a second and swimming towards my friends. I stumble up onto the bank, splashing water everywhere as I do. I'm not holding the fish anymore. What the fuck were you doing? I try to steady my breathing, hoping they'll just think it's because I was down so long, rather than me being freaked the fuck out. Carl's laughing next to Flynn as I start pressing my paws to my body, trying to speed up the drying process. What? Carl shrugs, but Flynn smacks him upside the head again. He pissed in the water while you were under. Oh my god! Great. Honestly, I don't really care right now. I wouldn't worry about it. You didn't come up near it, and there's probably worse in there anyway. Speaking of which, why don't you go further down the stream and wash up? I don't want you bringing pond shit into my truck. Okay. I sigh and pick up my clothes, just glad that they seemingly haven't noticed anything's off. Luckily for me, Flynn parked right next to the stream, so it's easy to find. It's freezing cold, though, compared to the pond, so I get washed up quickly. I gasp as I splash the water over my body, shivering before I stand back and start squeezing the water out of my fur again. Everything okay? I jump and look back. Flynn's leaning against his truck, arms folded, watching me. I blush. It was easier to be naked in front of the two of them, but for some reason, it just being Flynn makes it way more embarrassing. I turn back around, pressing my tail harder against my ass as I wave my arms up and down, trying to dry off. Yeah. Come for a show? Yeah. Always wanted to see the naked otter mimicking a bird. Shut up. I'm trying to dry off. Flynn doesn't say anything, so I just turn around, not even bothering to cover up, paws on my hips. Okay, seriously, you just come to see me naked? He hasn't moved at all, but he cracks a smile. Maybe. I don't let that trip me up, and instead thrust my hips out, legs spread. Well, there you go. I got a towel in my truck. He's still smiling, and his eyes definitely aren't on mine. Flynn has flirted with me before, even while I was dating Leo. I vaguely remember there being some altercations between the two. I make my way towards the truck, again, trying to angle my hips away from him. You really know how to creep a guy out. I lift on the handle, but the door doesn't open. Hey, unlock the... Something shoves hard into the small of my back, and I'm thrown forward to land with a wet splat against the hot metal of Flynn's truck. What the hell? Something tall, skinny, and muscular presses up against my back. Chills run down my spine as Flynn's muzzle snuffles into my ear, a low growling in his voice. You really think you can just tease me like that and get away with it? Uh, his paws slide around my body between the car and my stomach before moving up my chest. I'm frozen that way, paws against the passenger window though as I stare in shock through it at the truck's steering wheel, though I'm not really seeing it. There's a pause, and I think it's because he's waiting for my response, to see if I tell him to stop or not. I don't, though, and I lean my head back into his neck, feeling my entire body break out into goosebumps as he rubs up my chest. You like that, don't you? I respond with a gasp as his sharp teeth graze across one of my stubby ears, his hot breath sending another wave of chills over my skin. His hands slide back down slowly, feeling out my body. Acting like a little slut. You didn't think this was going to happen? I stiffen a little under the remark and lift my tail up again between his legs. You're one to fucking talk. I'm not completely sure about what's going on, if this is a spur of the moment thing, or if he's just trying to prove a point. What I do know is that we both want it. What do we do? And should I hide the screen and decide what is safe and what is not safe to read while we try and persevere through this horny moment? Flynn's not too bad with his hands. I want to see what he does. Flynn pauses for a second, as if he's having second thoughts, but after a while, he goes on. Damn, you're fucking hot. I felt that. I felt that. There are a lot of options. He rubs my stomach, which I suck in, and I have to keep from whimpering as one of his fingers teases at my belly button. I like skinny guys. Is that just a natural part of being an otter? I can tell you don't work out. Hey, I still have to keep in shape. I swim. I can't go on as he breathes into my ear again, making me gasp and lean my head back, biting my lip. Sensitive ears, huh? Finally, he gets to my lower stomach and he pauses, waiting again for my response. Again, I don't say anything, instead pushing my butt back into his crotch and thighs. One of his pinky fingers prods gently at the Fun. Hey, you're the one. But he's already turned around and heading back towards the pond. I watch him go, feeling bewildered and maybe even a little hurt. Asshole. I mutter it under my breath. Did he stop because he decided I wasn't up to his standards? That idea hurts even more because I imagine those are pretty low. I stand there for a while longer, feeling like a complete idiot before finally heading back to the stream. I've picked up all kinds of shit from smearing my body against his dirty truck. I'll be sure not to let him take advantage of me so easily again. We're headed down Elizabeth Street after dropping Carl off, the drive only a little awkward. Flynn's really good at acting like nothing's wrong when he wants to, and I'm totally fine with that right now. That's when I see a set of familiar ears through the window of the convenience store. Hey, is that TJ? Flynn ducks his head to look out my window. Looks like it. He flips a U-turn, which isn't a big deal since no one's on the road, and pulls up into the parking lot. What are you doing? Stopping by to say hi? Oh, okay. Guess I need to buy some stuff anyway. I look out the window so Flynn can't see the look on my face. I already know that this is a bad idea. TJ's at the register and his ears flick in our direction before he turns to see us. At first he smiles when he sees me, but then his ears fall flat as he sees Flynn coming behind me. Jenna pokes her head from behind TJ, and now I know this is a really bad idea. They're both a little dirty, and TJ has his backpack on. I wave at them to let them know I've seen them before moving towards the back of the store. I need to get some bottled water since I don't really like drinking from the faucet in the motel. I hear Flynn say something as he walks up to them, and I silently hope by the time I get back, everything will be magically resolved. Because the old corner market closed, this is the only place where you can buy food, aside from the diner. Looking around at the selection, I can see why Flynn takes the 30-minute drive to Peyton to get us food. I grab a few water bottles and head back to the front. My hopes of a resolution are dashed as I see the awkward situation unfolding in front of me. TJ's standing on the other side of Jenna now, keeping her between him and Flynn. No one's saying anything as I get to the register, the air tense and TJ fidgeting with his facial fur. As I pull out my wallet, I look over at Jenna. Hey, how was your hike? Fine. Hot. Ah. A red fox I don't recognize takes the $2 I hand to him. I feel Flynn shift around next to me, then I hear him taking a breath. Hey, Tej, Hey, Flynn, did you forget what happened yesterday? I cringe. Jenna's tone is sharp, and now I just wish I could turn invisible. Huh? Can't you tell he doesn't want to talk to you? Flynn doesn't say anything. The tension is so thick in the air, I feel like I'm back in the slimy pond. The cashier fox pauses in holding me my change, staring at Flynn and Jenna. Thanks. I almost yell as I reach out for the money, as if the volume of my voice will make everyone forget and provide Flynn the opportunity to escape. It doesn't work. We're not kids anymore, Flynn. You can't just treat us like crap and expect us to act like it's okay when you decide we're worth talking to again. Flynn's hunched forward, staring off to the side towards the back of the store. TJ suddenly heads for the door, and I can see his face twitching as he passes me. Jenna follows him, past Flynn, before turning around as she reaches the door. If you want to talk to us again, then you're going to have to act like an adult and apologize. Otherwise, later. She exits, leaving us in the most awkward, painful silence I've ever heard in my life. The clerk openly stares at Flynn. I fumble with the change in my wallet, trying to pretend like nothing happened. Do you wanna... Flynn turns and walks out the door. I watch him get in his truck, then pull out, his face expressionless. For a while, I stare at the empty parking space as I slowly shove my wallet into my back pocket. The clerk, without anyone else to stare at, is now staring at me. Annoyed, I look right at him. What? He stares back at me, expression vacant. Huh? He's young, but the patchy fur and missing teeth and the look in his eyes tell me everything I need to know. I suddenly realize where I am and where I come from, and this alone quashes all the good feelings I have left of the day. This fox in front of me practically embodies all the problems with this small town. I feel such a bizarre, intense wave of hatred for him that I have to leave the store. Pressing the 2 water bottles against my chest with one arm, I shove my free paw into my pocket, staring at the ground as I walk back to the hotel. I'm sick of him thinking that he can do whatever he wants without any sort of consequence. Jenna rustles around in a drawer before using her hips to close it with a snap as she turns to me. I'll apologize to him once he apologizes for ruining the trip. I open my mouth, then close it again. Of course, asking Jenna to make up with Flynn is a lost cause. It's like asking Carl to take off his beanie. Sitting on the bed, I glance at the bathroom door, the faint sound of TJ's shower coming from within. I hear Jenna sigh before the bed wobbles as she takes a seat next to me. I'd probably feel bad if he hadn't fucked everything up already. I rub the back of my neck with a hand, trying to think of something I can say to convince her. It's just that Flynn is always like that. He doesn't mean anything bad. Yeah, well, I'm sick of having to deal with it. He needs to learn how not to talk like an asshole. This is one of the reasons why Flynn never fucks with Jenna, or really says anything to her at all. She's kind of exempt from the whole unspoken pact we made to just let Flynn's dickishness slide. Even sensitive TJ accepts it and takes the playful ribbing well enough. Hear the shower shut off, followed by the high-powered whoosh of the hotel's cheap dryer. Being a lynx, TJ probably had to stand in that thing for a good 10 minutes before he was even damp. We're adults now. If he wants to get anywhere in life, he needs to shape up. He's getting along alright. Jenna snorts. Yeah, if he's planning to stay here for the rest of his life. I mean, what's wrong with that? I can tell Jenna's giving me a look, but I don't give her the satisfaction of turning my head to see it. Seriously? Anyway, it's clearly a defense mechanism. He feels vulnerable without his "I'm an asshole" blanket. I mean, you're not a psychiatrist yet, Jenna. I'm not going to be a psychiatrist, but you don't need a psych degree to see it. I don't respond, not seeing the point in arguing about Flynn any further. Jenna stretches, then gets up to go over to her laptop on a small table while I lay back on the bed, closing my eyes. Absent-mindedly, I pull my phone out, discovering a text from Leo. I forgot to tell you that we're having a surprise party for Carl tomorrow. I frown and type out a quick response. You're telling us this now? It's not until next month. What's up? Jenna's looking up from her laptop at the expression on my face. Leo says we're having a surprise party for Carl tomorrow. Oh yeah. You knew? Well, yeah. Leo told us on the drive back from the river. My phone buzzes again. Sorry, but we're going to the store tomorrow to get some presents, so don't worry about it. I frown. This is kind of weird. A whole month early? Jenna shrugs and looks back down at her laptop. Something to do, I guess. I type another response to Leo again. I have a lot to do tomorrow. I was planning to get some footage in the morning. Leo's always been weird. Do you follow any of his accounts? He's always posting pics of his food and stuff. Oh god, he's an Instagram foodie. My phone buzzes again. I guess I can get the present for you, but you're definitely going to the party, and then we're going to go out to see a movie. I suppose that doesn't sound too bad, as long as I'm able to get at least something done for the project. Something is still bothering me about the whole get-together, though. I can go to the party, but I might need to stay and do more project stuff. What about Flynn? I send that one with some hesitation, feeling like me and Leo are conspiring behind Flynn's back. Then I remember what I did behind Leo's back with Flynn, and my toes curl reflexively with cringe. Yeah, technically it's none of Leo's business what I do, but it doesn't change the feeling of wrongness I have about it. I toy with the idea of texting Flynn as well, but knowing him, he probably won't respond right now. I am sorry. To you, at least. I look up from my phone at Jenna, who's clacking busily away on her laptop. For what? Her typing pauses. Because pissing Flynn off like that is just going to make this an even shittier vacation. I sigh and look back down at my phone, waiting for Leo's response. Well, I don't know. I guess he needed to hear it from someone. My phone buzzes again. I had a talk with him. It's fine. I'm about to say something else to Jenna, but I can hear TJ starting to open the door, so I just shut my mouth and close my eyes again. Wednesday. I actually end up sleeping in the next day. Leo tries to coax me to go along, but I mumble something about needing to finish my project. The next thing I know, it's an hour later and the motel room is empty. I chastise myself for the late start I'm getting and roll out of bed, skipping a shower and instead gathering up all my equipment. I decide to head to the old school mostly out of convenience. It's less than a mile up Main Street. It's broken down and vandalized to hell, which looks great through the camera. The original Echo School was built back in the early 1900s, but it was torn down and rebuilt in the 50s. That's the building that I'm looking at now. Apparently, all grades were combined into this one building, which was sectioned off by 3 floors. Echo Elementary, Echo Junior High, and Echo High. After 1980, there were too few students to keep it functional, and they started busing everyone to Peyton instead, closing Echo School down. It's a 2-story brick schoolhouse with a basement and about 30 rooms inside. I remember my parents saying that after it closed down, it was a rite of passage to sneak into the school at night and graffiti up the walls. Basically, everyone drew a pentagram. I set the camera up to get a few shots of the outside of the school, making sure to emphasize the graffiti on the front and avoid the white soccer goal. Apparently, Echo was still putting the field to use. The windows are foggy, and through these are dozens of squares of glass missing. It's pitch black inside. I calculate in my mind how long I'll be speaking over this portion of the footage, realizing that it probably won't be longer than 10 or 15 seconds. I feel a little flare of annoyance at the thought of how much I'm putting into this and how little I'm getting out. I wonder if this is really the kind of thing I want to be doing, and not for the first time. After about half an hour of trying different angles, I finally straighten up, wiping my forehead. The sun is up to the point of warming the top of my head, and I know that within a half hour I'll be burning up. I start packing up my camera when I feel a different sensation on the top of my head. A slight pressure and a prickle, the feeling that I'm being watched. I look back up at the school building. It's quiet, broken, and stoic, like it has been for the past few decades. Still, my eyes are drawn to the second floor, specifically to the window of the far right. I stare hard at it, narrowing my eyes. Behind the glass in the dark room, something curves out from the right side of the window. It's a lighter color, and it stands out in stark contrast against the black of the rest of the windows. It could be anything, really, but as I stare at it, I get the same vibes from it as I do from Carl's horns. I stare at it, waiting to see if it moves, morbidly imagining a face peering around the corner at any moment. Picturing Carl suddenly jumping out to stare at me from the window is kind of funny, but also creepy because I can't imagine what he'd be doing up there. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up and I look around, kind of hoping that someone might be nearby. It's deserted, of course, my only company being the sun-baked road and dried sagebrush. I turn my attention back to that spot next to the window, half expecting the maybe a horn to be gone. It's still there, though, not having shifted at all from when I first spotted it. I shift the strap of the camera bag back onto my shoulder and stand up straight before moving a little closer to the building next to the doors for a better look. Maybe it's the handle to something. Maybe it's the handle of an old watering can. Maybe for a class project forgotten long ago. Maybe. I shrug off the feeling and turn to leave. Okay, I don't think we have much of an option. Enter the school. Something itches in the back of my brain. I look back at the door and I can tell right away that there isn't anything holding it shut. At least not on the outside. Maybe I could get a few shots of what's in there. I walk slowly up to the door. A thin piece of plywood, definitely not what was here originally. A small tin, no trespassing sign hangs from it, almost completely rusted through. I give the door a tentative push and it instantly gives away, sliding noisily across the concrete ground. Inside, there's a staircase in front of me. To the left and right are wide, darkened hallways. I'm just crossing over the threshold when I realize what I'm doing. Even if I did get some good footage, it would have been from breaking into the place illegally. I'd basically be filming a crime for a school project. The floor creaks above my head and I realize just how stupid this is. I turn back around, making sure to shut the rickety door behind me fully before I start back towards the road. It was a dumb idea, sure, and I've come up with a lot of stupid ideas, but for some reason I can't shake the feeling that that had been especially weird. I'm at the end of the road when I remember the horn of the window. I don't turn around. So how do you even know that he's here? Jenna eyes Leo as we make our way up the walk to Carl's house. As I'm looking up at the mansion, I think of how you imagine a lot of things being bigger when you're younger. Not Carl's house. I always forget how big it is when I see it again. Even kids from Peyton wanted to hang out with Carl because of it. Carl is here like 95% of the time. Besides, how would he get around without his parents? Jenna doesn't say anything as TJ bounds up to the door and rings the doorbell, while balancing a cake against his chest. Everything is so old-fashioned here. TJ seems to have cheered up since the incident a few days back. At least that's what he's been putting out so far. Sometimes it's hard to tell with TJ. We wait a while, but there's no answer. Jenna looks pointedly at Leo, who pointedly ignores her. He's probably asleep. And how do we wake him up? I want to ask where Flynn's at, but even mentioning his name around TJ seems risky. Leo's looking up at a window to the right of the door, about 10 feet off the ground. You know, if I boost you up, you'd be able to reach. Are you kidding me? I shift the bag of presents I'm holding, glancing down at the red tissue paper on top. So, what did I get Carl? Leo doesn't seem to notice me, continuing to frown at Jenna. How else are we going to wake him up? Oh, I don't know. Maybe by sending him a text in advance to have him meet us somewhere rather than just going to his house completely unannounced? Leo huffs, and I can see his face getting red under his fur. Jenna has a fair point, but I still felt bad for the wolf. I mean, he usually is here, isn't he? Let's not fight, guys. It's supposed to be a party. TJ's genuinely disappointed voice seems to put a pause on the tense mood, and Jenna sighs before looking up at the window. I guess I could try. Great. Leo hops down off the deck, but at that moment, a big rusty truck pulls into the driveway of Carl's house. It's Flynn, and next to him in the passenger seat is an unconscious-looking ram. The hell? Flynn parks before slowly and quietly opening the door. Flynn, what the hell are you doing? Leo Whisper yells it as he walks up to the truck, glancing over at Carl, who's leaned back in the seat with his mouth hanging open. Even from here, I can hear him snoring. Hey, Wolf, if you still want it to be a surprise, you'll shut up. What the hell are you doing? Flynn rolls his eyes. We went to the reservation. What? Why? Because it's something we do sometimes. I texted you that we were going to surprise him. Yeah, that's why I'm here. Flynn rubs the back of his scaly head. Just a little late is all. Started winning more than I usually do, so Carl and I stuck around for a little longer. You were gambling? Of course, because that's all the reservation is good for, huh? Whoa. Flynn holds up his hands defensively. What's with all of you? Flynn's eyes settle on me, and for some reason I feel my heart give a jump. Chase, what the hell crawled up everyone's ass? I feel like the answer should be obvious, but if Flynn's trying to get things at least somewhat close to normality, then I'm fully behind him. You know how Leo is, his way or the highway. Leo shoots a glare at me, but I grin at him, trying to lighten the jab. I sense TJ further back behind me, separate from our group. I really wish I knew what he's thinking right now. Leo lets out a tiny growl before turning back to Flynn. I feel like you could have at least told us. Flynn sighs and glances back at the ram sleeping in the truck. Well, why don't you guys go inside so this whole surprise thing isn't as weird? It's locked. Flynn walks over to Carl's side before turning to us. Going through the back. There's a key under the doormat. We get into position in front of the door. TJ's a little more enthusiastic, hiding against the wall to the left of the door, a party popper in his hand. This is going to go horribly. I hear a soft clopping along with the low murmur of Carl's voice. The door swings open. Dude, I just want to put it behind me and not the... Surprise! Carl stands there, frozen as strings of confetti drape across his horns. For a moment, it goes completely silent and we all stare back at him. Finally, TJ giggles. Oops, I didn't mean to get it on your horns. TJ goes about picking the confetti off Carl's head, his hesitant movements making it obvious how hard he's trying to avoid touching the horns. What? Carl finally breaks the awkward silence as he continues to stare at all of us, pushing TJ's hands away to pull the confetti off himself. Leo steps forward, a clearly forced smile on his face. Your birthday? Happy early birthday. Carl continues to stare. Flynn steps up to his side and puts an arm around his shoulder. Yeah, there isn't much to do around here, so we had to come up with something. But a birthday party for me? It's not for another month. Be happy, Carl. This is probably the last birthday party you'll ever get. Wow. Carl opens his muzzle, then snaps it shut, his long ears twitching around. Carl, this is basically just a party. Your birthday is just an excuse to have it. Oh, come on, Jenna. We got you gifts and everything. Leo nods at me, and I take that as my cue to lift my bag into the air, grinning sheepishly. I mean, it was Leo's birthday last month. So what? You want to just re-gift everything to him? Flynn gives a hard tug on one of Carl's horns, and he swats at Flynn's hand with more annoyance than I'm used to seeing him have. And cake! TJ raises the cake in the air. Flynn leans against Carl, pointing at it. See? Red velvet! Your favorite! I'm silently thankful that Flynn's trying this hard to not let Carl freak out. I think we're all a little taken aback at how much he's resisting. Carl's shoulders do droop a bit at the sight of the cake, though. Where are your plates? Jenna's over at the cupboards, opening a few and looking inside. This kitchen is huge. Second one over. At that point, we've managed to shake off the awkward haze we're in and start moving to the table. So, we got the whole day planned out for you. Yeah? Carl stands at the end of the table, one hand on a chair as he watches all of us. While I knew Carl wouldn't really be into the idea of a party, I didn't think it would be this bad. I wonder if his anxiety has gotten worse since the incident at the university. We're going out to eat later, and then a movie. Thought you might want to see the new Luce logo film, you know? Carl's hands go up to pull the beanie tighter over his head. Well, as long as you don't tell the waiters that it's my birthday. Oh yeah, isn't that place by the theater where they basically force you to wear one of those cone hats? Yup, and I swear to God if one of them gets all touchy with my horns trying to put it on... What? You'll blow pot smoke at them? I think it's kind of fun. TJ's struggling to pull the plastic dome off the cake. Leo reaches out to help him, but it pops free at that moment and takes a large glob of frosting off the side of the cake. Ah! Good one, Tej. We can give that piece to Carl so he can stay on his diet. Flynn puts air quotes around the word diet. An awkward silence follows, one that Flynn clearly notices, and I see him sulk in response. Carl coughs. I didn't have breakfast, so this should be fine. Leo claps his paws together. While we're having cake, why don't we start opening your presents, huh? Carl grabs the bag and unceremoniously dumps it out onto the table. He goes through them, giving obligatory thanks when he finds out who gave it to him. I see my gift for the first time along with Carl. It's a horn band in black and orange. University of Pueblo colors. We used to make fun of the jocks that wore them at Pueblo. Thanks? He looks at me as if trying to figure out if I'm joking or not, and I can only offer a pained smile in response. It's only now that I'm feeling guilty for not getting him the present myself. I'll get him another one on his real birthday. Flynn steps forward at that point. Here's mine, something I got from the reservation. Flynn reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small and hidden in his hand. When Carl sees it, his eyes widen. Oh wow! It looks like a rectangular piece of metal with 2 points sticking out of the top. It's not until Carl pushes a thumb against one of those horns and it pops open that I realize it's a lighter. Now you won't look like a total loser when you get blazed. Carl gives Flynn a small smile before flicking the lighter on before snapping it shut. Thanks, man. Don't worry about it. Store owner actually gave me a discount. They still remembered me from all the smokes I used to buy there. You went all the way to the reservation for that? Cigarettes are untaxed on the reservation. Another thing it's useful for, huh, Flynn? A chill descends over the room again, after it had just warmed up. I went there for the casino. The cigarettes were just... Mm-hmm. Flynn stops and frowns, looking confused and hurt. At this point, I start to feel myself wanting to stick up for him. The rest of the party is stiff and uncomfortable as Flynn stews in the corner. Finally, Leo stands up and tells us to get out to the car. Leo gives Flynn a look, and I can tell he's going to confront him on something. Quietly, I linger towards the door and listen as the rest of them head out. Oh, so now I just can't say anything to him, huh? Flynn. The look on Leo's face is deadly. His eyes are narrowed, ears flat against his head, teeth bared. Flynn's initial indignation pulls and he backs up. You promised me that you wouldn't fuck this up. You said you wouldn't cause any problems. I was fucking trying to make things better. Can you read a fucking room? No one wanted you to say anything to him. What? So I'm just gonna let things stay like this for the whole week? Well, that's kind of your fault, isn't it? I'm trying to be nice to him. And did you see Jenna? She's not fucking helping. You know how TJ is. Just leave him alone. He's a fucking adult. He's not some little kid you have to protect. That's why it's been years and the little shit hasn't manned up enough to say what actually happened. Leo's hackles flare. See? That's what this is about. You only want another chance at him. Leo's looking at Flynn with pure disgust on his face. Sounds like you think I just want to fuck him. I wouldn't put it past you, slut. Flynn leans back with a smirk. Then I'm not the only one with ulterior motives, eh? Flynn's eyes flicked to me. Leo doesn't even say anything in response, instead just letting out a rough snarl. Flynn only flinches a little, but doesn't move, just folding his arms, staring hard at the wolf. I don't want to see you talking to him again this week. If you do, I'll shove your fat tail so far up your ass. Buy me a drink first. Chase, get out to the car. I jump as Leo snaps his head in my direction. I'm torn about this. I don't feel like Flynn did anything wrong in trying to talk to TJ. But if what Leo suspects is true, I think I need to... Alright, cool. Leo punches the door frame on his way out, swinging the door shut with a smash. Flynn retains his position against the back of the couch, his arms folded, coolly chewing on his toothpick. We both listen to the sound of Leo's truck starting up before it fades as they pull out. I look over at the leftover cake on the table, wondering if I should clean up just to give myself something to do. The glob of cream stuck to the side of a plastic dome gives me a jolt of genuine sadness at the mess this whole get-together has turned into. Flynn, meanwhile, retains his slouch, sulking. Finally, pressure's too much and I feel a need to say something. So, as if that's his cue, Flynn turns on his heels and stalks out the door. Hey! I scramble to follow him out the door, feeling more annoyed than sorry for him at this point. Where are you going? Flynn doesn't say anything as he walks up to his truck and yanks open the driver's side door. He slams it shut just as I walk up to the door. What the fuck? He finally does turn to me, then, shifting the toothpick around in his mouth before he speaks. What? What do you mean, what? You can't just take off. Why not? Flynn arches his prominent brow at me, and I struggle to think of what to say. It's not like he owed me anything. I didn't stick up for him at all back there. Was he expecting me to? As far as he knew, I just needed to get my project done. I just thought you could give me a ride. Flynn smirks at me. Where? The mine. You serious? I mean, it's a few miles away. You know it's sealed up and everything, right? Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean I can't get a few shots of the outside. Flynn sighs heavily, and that annoys me more than anything else. Whatever, man. I turn around and start heading up the road, not even sure if it's the fastest way to the mine. For the next 10 seconds, I walk briskly up the road, but Flynn's car doesn't start up. I already know that he's going to relent before he says it. Fucking hell. Hey! I turn around, trying not to smile. What? You know what? Get in. I try not to look too eager as I make my way over to the passenger side and hop in. Think you're smart, don't you? I roll my eyes. I don't think anything. You're the one shooting yourself in the foot all the time. Whatever, man. I stare through the bars of rebar into the darkness of the old mine. There's a damp, cold breeze coming from inside, but all I can smell is dirt. Yep, beautiful, ain't it? Might as well just slap that mine jail on our flag. Represents the town pretty good. Flynn leans against the truck, chewing on another one of his toothpicks. There's an unsettling feeling about the whole place, and I'm kind of glad Flynn is with me because of it. It's a good 3 miles from the town center, and the gravel road is deserted. Our only company is a few crumbled ruins and foundations scattered every 20 feet or so. The only sign of modernity is an oddly placed long patch of asphalt and 2 long lampposts at the end of it. The town had tried to turn the area into a tourist destination a decade ago, but the recession put a hard stop to that. That seemed to be a running theme in the town's history. Progress halted by outside forces. Don't you have some say in that? I mumble absent-mindedly, messing with the settings on the camera. No. I'm the clerk. I just mess with records and shit. It's still hard for me to imagine Flynn working in that position. Shouldn't you be there now? It's still before 5. Maybe, but why bother? What? He looks up at me, toothpick bobbing around in his mouth, eyes wide as he shrugs. What? You think anyone's going to notice? I get paid to do nothing. But won't you get fired? It's an elected position. Well, unelected then? It goes unchallenged every year, Chase. I frown. Doesn't Flynn have any sense of duty? Flynn takes the toothpick out of his mouth and stabs it in my direction. Hey, I didn't bring you here to get lectured about how to do my job. I've been doing it the past 3 years. Flynn shoves the toothpick back into his mouth. Anyway, I was kidding. I'm part-time. I get my shit done, then I leave. I set the camera on the tripod and look through the lens. Don't me. There's a good amount of satisfaction I get out of teasing Flynn. I mean, your cousin or whatever is the mayor, right? My aunt is, and so what? Isn't that nepotism or something? Flynn sighs heavily behind me. Elected. Alright, just seems kinda, I don't know, like not a good thing. As I film, I can hear him really starting to grumble behind me, so I try to change the subject. Well, it's good to see you're still not smoking anymore. The toothpicks helping? Not right now, they're not. Flynn had smoked since he was a freshman in high school. I distinctly remember him offering me cigarettes when I was like 14. He always gets pissed off if I remind him about that. I pick up the camera and move it to a different angle. Well, maybe you could give Leo a few pointers. He doesn't say anything, and I close my eyes when I remember what just happened with the wolf. I film for another minute, then turn around to face him. I'm sorry about what happened. Flynn doesn't look at me, instead choosing to stare out at the desert. Why? You didn't do anything. But I could've, and this project is why we're here in the first place, isn't it? Flynn sighs and finally looks up at me, his eyes all the more piercing under the bright sunlight. You know, one thing I can't stand is people apologizing over nothing. I frown. What does that mean? Yeah, you can apologize, but in the end, all it's doing is making you feel better while fixing nothing. I glare at him, feeling my face get hot even more than it is in the desert heat. He shrugs and leans against the car, head tilted back and eyes shut against the sun. I stalk over to stand in front of him, and I can see a smile playing at the edges of his muzzle. Man, fuck you. On the last word, I jab a finger into his stomach. His eyes fly open and he grunts loudly, doubling over. Geez, Chase. I fucking stayed in the shithole for you while everyone else is having fun, and this is the thanks I get? Oh, so you stayed behind just for me. Flynn stays curled up, rubbing his stomach. His face is inches from mine, and he's still got that stupid grin on his face. You're an asshole. Aw, Chase. My heart. He clutches at his chest dramatically. More like your stomach. I poke at it again, but he reacts too quickly. His lithe torso bending out of the way. You can't keep your hands off me, can you? I fold my arms, glaring at him. Flynn finally straightens up, looking around. Well, I'm not going to do a repeat of yesterday. I've got a house, you know. Is he talking about how we fooled around yesterday and that he's inviting me back to his house? Or more specifically, his bedroom? I swallow. I don't want to look too eager, like that's the only reason I stayed behind. You know, I'm a little hungry. You want to go out and get something first? Flynn snorts as he gazes down at me. What? From the diner? You know that fucks me up. I think. You said you'd cook for me a few days back. Flynn sighs, rubbing a hand behind his head. What is this? Some kind of date? Well, you said you preferred dinner first before... I trail off as Flynn raises a brow at me. I said a drink. We can have that too. Flynn looks off into the desert again, thinking. Fine, but I'm gonna get you back for that poke. I smirk. Yeah. As he turns away from me, his tail comes in and knocks against my crotch. It wasn't at all that hard, but it's enough to make me feel it in the bottom of my stomach. Ah, fuck, come on! I walk bow-legged for a few seconds as I move to gather up my equipment. I don't think that was an equal exchange. That's 'cause you ain't a lizard. Now hurry your ass up. Flynn's house is a ranch-style adobe home. He moved here only a few years ago, so it's my first time seeing it. It's an alright place. Housemate's quiet and keeps to himself, so it's almost like I have it to myself. You got a housemate? Well, yeah, don't need the whole house. Saves a decent amount of money, too. As we pull in next to a kind of foreign-looking faded yellow scooter. He's new to Echo. You'll probably like him. He's a big fucking nerd. I hop out, the pavement warm against my pads even though the sun is setting. It looks nice. Kind of like a smaller version of Carl's house. Carl's mansion, you mean? On the way up to the door, I feel his thick tail bump against my own, though it's softer enough that I'm not sure if it's on purpose. As we go inside, I'm hit with a blast of warm air that's not much different than what's outside. I air out my shirt. Flynn notices and chuckles. Sorry, but you better get used to it if you want to hang around with me. I don't know how to pronounce that. As I follow Flynn into the kitchen, the smell is a bit strange as well. Kind of like sagebrush, which isn't a bad thing at all. That you, Flynn? Yeah, I have a friend over. Oh, one of your reunion friends? Flynn opens the fridge. Do we have any green peppers left? I hear a sliding door from the hallway and turn around to a somewhat startling sight. A tall lizard comes in, but it's not his height that's surprising me, rather his coloring, spotted blue with pale eyes. I then realize he's a salamander, not a reptile. I suppose I'd seen brightly colored amphibians in Pueblo, but definitely not Echo, and not even in Peyton. There's a smile on his face, and I try hard not to stare. Dax, this is Chase. Hello, Chase. Hi. I reach out to his offered hand before feeling the cool, almost slippery sensation of his skin. Yeah, sorry, I know you guys aren't used to salamanders around here. I cringe inwardly as I realize he'd caught me staring like a dumbass. Oh no, I don't mind. Mind me being a salamander? I'm mortified, but he's still smiling. Alright, Chase, enough making a fool out of yourself. Flynn is tossing ingredients onto the counter. Peppers, cheese, eggs. He can't help it if he's not used to it. Well, he's always bragging about going to college. Sometimes it serves you better if you just get out more. I'm not sure what to say at this point, but Dax saves me from having to try. Oh, please. Daxton sits next to me on a stool, that warm smile still plastered to his face. Yeah, Flynn here was trying to sweet-talk a hyena a few months back. I can see Flynn tense up before he turns around, poking a knife threatening at the salamander. Don't you dare. Referred to him as a canine. Like, isn't that something basic you learn in school? Wow, Flynn. Really? Flynn turns back around with a huff. Sometimes you forget shit. He's trying to play it off, but I can see the frills on the back of his head flaring out. He didn't care anyway. We fucked, so fuck off. Daxton rolls his eyes before getting up and airing out his shirt like I did earlier. Well, I'm going back to my side of the house. It's a friggin' sauna over here. He pats me on the shoulder as he passes. Nice meeting you, Chase. I watch as he heads back down the hallway, sliding shut the door. It's colder on that side of the house. Yeah, dual habitat residence. I look longingly over at Dax's side of the house. Get your ass over here so I can teach you how to cook something. The next hour is surprisingly fun, even though half of it is spent with Flynn yelling at me about how wrong I'm doing stuff. He calls it chilies rellenos, peppers filled with cheese and meat covered in egg before being fried. I have to agree with Flynn that it's way better than the diner food, even though the food over there is still pretty good. When we finish, Flynn dumps the dishes in the sink with a clatter before snatching me up by the arm. Hey! Shut up, Chase. I frown, but allow myself to be dragged down the hallway to what I presume is the lizard's room. It's small and simple, but what I'm most focused on is the fairly large bed. He pulls me in to make room to shut the door before pressing me back against it and kissing me full on the mouth. I open my mouth the moment his tongue prods my lips. I'm not used to the feeling of something so thin and flexible sliding into my mouth, but it's not a bad feeling. His long tongue easily entangles my smaller one. At the same time, his hands grab the bottom of my shirt and pulls it over my head, breaking our kiss. As I lean back against the wall, Flynn's eyes play over my body, clearly drinking it in. I narrow my eyes. Hey, you've already seen me naked. I reach forward, undoing his belt with quick, jerky movements. Flynn doesn't resist and instead stands there, smirking down at me. I give him a smirk in return as I rest my hands on his hips before slowly sliding them down, pushing the pants down with them. As the tail slides out of the rear, I move my hands around to feel his ass as the pants slide further down. His thick tail twitches in response before I squeeze his soft rear, earning a gasp from the lizard. I'm so preoccupied with his... Wait, what was that? What's wrong with me wanting to know what happened? I pause on my rubbing, resting my paw in the middle of his stomach. He tenses it for a second, so I continue the rubbing. Nothing. I guess it's how you go about doing it. He grunts. Doesn't matter how I do it. He's going to be upset. Might be easier if you try to go at it more delicately. Flynn takes a deep breath, and I watch my hand rise and fall with it. He's hiding something. You know it too. I don't say anything. We lay like that for a while. Flynn's breathing softly onto my ear as his fingers creep over my arm to... Everyone does, but they still treat me like I'm some sort of monster for wanting to know. I press down suddenly and he grunts loudly into my ear as he tenses up against my hand again. You don't really think what you did at the river was appropriate? Ow! Sydney didn't deserve that. I swallow. No. I mean, I know he was a dick, but he came from a rough place. I just listened, not wanting to say something wrong. Flynn never opened up like this. You guys didn't know him like I did. I stop rubbing and turn my head up to look at Flynn. His eyes are open, staring up at the ceiling. Chase, I need to find out what happened. Flynn, no! I'm sick of wondering. I'm sick of imagining. He looks down at me suddenly, and the expression on his face is strange. I'm gonna talk to him again. Who, TJ? I hear my voice rise in concern. He doesn't say anything. Flynn. I sit up. Don't do that. He glares at me. Yeah, why not? This is probably the last chance I'll get, but try to think of something to say. Nothing good will come out of it. If he hasn't said anything until now, then he probably never will. We'll see about that. The implication in his voice sends a chill down my spine. Flynn! The lizard looks away from me. What? I'm not going to do anything. Just talk. And if he doesn't say anything... Flynn stares at the wall. Then I guess that's that. But I want to talk to him without Leo there to coddle him like he's some little kid. I put my face in my hands and rub slowly. I know Flynn would never want to hurt TJ, but he can get so emotional, and what if TJ says the wrong thing? Just let me go with you when you do. Flynn turns his head to look back at me. Why? I just want to be there to keep things grounded. Flynn stares hard at me. Maybe. He likes you, so maybe that'll be good. He continues to stare at me, and I feel a little uncomfortable. What? You just have to promise one thing. What? I say it a bit more slowly. Don't get in the way. Don't try to defend him, even if he's acting all sad and shit. I look back at him, unsure of what I'll say. I don't want TJ to get hurt, and just the thought of this confrontation is making me feel sick. But I don't want him to be alone when this happens either. The thought of telling one of the others, Jenna or Leo, comes to mind, but I know that'll be a fucking catastrophe if I do. That would be the end of a lot of friendships. It still left a chance that they would survive. Either way, I'm going to have to promise him if I want a chance to go along. Whether or not I keep that promise... what are we going to do? I promise, but only if it doesn't get physical. Flynn's eyes narrow. What? He continues to stare at me, like he's trying to see something behind me. What? I'm not lying. Flynn gives his signature snort and closes his eyes again. It won't. I look at him skeptically, deciding not to remind him about what happened at the river. I sigh and stare at my naked balls for a moment, feeling a little strange. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, maybe take a shower. Alright. I get up onto unsteady feet and head into the hallway, wondering if I should try. What's wrong with you? Thursday. And this is where we are going to leave off. Okay, so we started the Flynn route, which is epic. We know a lot about Flynn, I guess. But okay. Well, I don't have anything else, so just stay safe and have a good night.